Shifting gears a bit, as we all know, winter months can be a good time to plan ahead for the spring and the upcoming growing season. Nebraska Extension has your back on that front. Right now, they've got a big lineup of workshops spread across the state, tailor-made for crop and livestock producers. Those workshops are more than just events. They're an opportunity to get a leg up on the game. Let's hand things over now to Market Journal producer Bill Dodd as he brings us the inside scoop on those events.
Thanks, Bryce. That's right. There are a couple of educational clinics focused on crop production and calving that could be beneficial to many of our state's crop and livestock producers. And coming up next week, Nebraska Extension will be hosting several crop production clinics along the I-80 corridor. If you're looking to hit the ground running during the 2024 growing season, there are 3 more opportunities to enroll for crop production clinics, being held January 17th at the Laughlin Country Club in Hastings, Nebraska, January 19th at the Holthus Convention Center in York, and finally at the Eunice Conference Center in Kearney.
I'd say there's kind of two things we're trying to do. One is really looking at pesticide applicator recertification. So this is the process that folks go through every 3 years to get their applicator's license renewed. And so there's a handful of topics that the EPA wants applicators to cover on a continuing basis, and so we're going over some of that. But a lot of it is also tied to what are some of the new pests that we see coming up in this past year. I'm kind of looking forward to the next year, and so tar spot is a topic that we're continuing to cover in corn. Soybean gall midge is one that we're still talking about. Looking at a little bit at some application technology parameters, some things we can think about on that side. So that would be one of the tracks of the 2 tracks that we cover. It would be kind of related to that pest management and applicator recertification. And then the other track is really more around crop management, agribusiness type topics. And so we have a range of different things this year we're looking at. We have a session kind of combined looking at nitrogen and water management into a combined session. Knowing that those 2 topics tend to intersect each other, there's overlap between the 2, and so we put together a couple of talks that try to look at it more holistically. What are the intersections between how you manage your irrigation as well as nitrogen management. We're doing a little bit on soil health, and so that's been a topic over the last number of years that there's certainly been interest around. There's a whole suite of different tests that can be done to evaluate soil health, so how do you narrow that down? How do you kind of pick and choose for what you're trying to understand in your operation? Maybe what are some of the better options out there, so you don't maybe have to do all 37 or whatever that number is of the different tests, but can you narrow it down to a couple that might give you some targeted information? So I think that's part of the topic there. And then I know there's some sensor-based nitrogen management. So there's been a number of on-farm studies and work over the last number of years looking at that sensor-based nitrogen management in corn. And so I think this is kind of summarizing and highlighting some of those topics. So that, I think, maybe a snapshot at some of the different things that we have coming up across our different clinics.
Coming up on the 18th and 19th of January in Sidney and Curtis, Nebraska, respectively, will be 2 hands-on calving workshops that will cover topics including calving equipment and proper use.
So the topics that will be covered will include different types of calving equipment and how to properly use those, some techniques for managing dystocia, so how you can help assist that cow if needed. And so whether that's how the calf is presented, maybe the calf is backwards presentation. So just how you can assist that calf so it comes out healthy. And we are also taking into consideration that health of the cow as well. And then just knowing when to call for help, knowing when to call the vet. Dr. Becky Funk and Dr. Lindsay Wechter-Mead will be our presenters, and they have a life-size model cow and calf. And so they're going to use that to do lots of demonstrations and training with participants on how to best assist the cow when needed. So I think a common goal with calving is really to produce a healthy calf crop, and again, take into consideration of the health of that cow as well. That way she can rebreed and stay in the herd. And so really, regardless of your experience with calving, I think anyone could benefit from attending this. It would be a good refresher for some, and for others, I mean, you may take away some tips and techniques to help you when you get in that situation where you need to assist the cow.
To recap, the calving workshops will be held in Sidney, Nebraska on January 18th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time at the South Platte NRD building. and again on January 19th at 1 p.m. Central Time at the NCTA Livestock Teaching Center in Curtis, Nebraska. There is a $30 registration fee associated with these events. If you would like to attend either of these events, you're encouraged to reach out to Aaron Berger for the Sydney event or to Aaron Labbery for the event in Curtis. And finally, if you'd like to attend one of the crop production clinics, you have 3 more opportunities to do so. First will be January 17th at the Lockland Country Club in Hastings, Nebraska, January 19th at the Holthus Convention Center in York, and January 23rd at the Eunice Conference Center in Kearney. Now, one side note, the January 23rd event in Kearney will be held in conjunction with the Nebraska Agribusiness Association Expo taking place at the same location. So there's a bit of a buy one, get one offer there if you're so inclined. Now, if you have any program questions, you're encouraged to reach out to Chris Proctor by email or phone, and that information is there at the bottom of your screen for you now. If you'd like to register for any of these events, we'll have a direct link attached to this story over on the Market Journal website. For now, we'll send it back to you, Bryce.